this vote, the yeas are 221 and the nays are 212. The resolution is adopted.
What you just witnessed was a little bit of strike back that the Republicans are engaging in regard to Joe Biden. They voted in favor of opening an impeachment inquiry, and it is very much politically motivated. The very Republican members of Congress who voted in favor of this impeachment inquiry have acknowledged that there is no evidence yet to prove that Joe Biden has done anything wrong, and that they're voting in favor of this because, well, I mean, the impeachment inquiry could allow us to do an investigation. Now, mind you, an investigation into Joe Biden and these allegations that he enriched himself through foreign business deals. It just doesn't, there's nothing that holds water. There's been no evidence presented yet, but they're moving forward with it, despite the fact that that investigation without a formal impeachment inquiry has been going on since Joe Biden got elected. Like, you guys have had access to thousands of documents. You've heard testimony from Hunter Biden's close business partners and have failed to find a shred of evidence that incriminates Joe Biden. But make no mistake, this is also a politically motivated effort. And some of them are pretty clear about that as well, saying, look, I mean, look what you're doing to our candidate. Look what you're doing to Donald Trump. He's facing a federal prosecution for election interference, and we're gonna go ahead and strike back with our own investigation into Joe Biden. It's just, look, if there were evidence of Joe Biden doing anything illegal, I actually have no problem with them opening an impeachment inquiry, but there is no evidence. And so this is purely politically motivated, and it's such a waste of time and resources. But nonetheless, let's get to the lawmakers who voted in favor of this and what their allegations are. So of the Republicans in the House of Representatives, 221 of them have just voted in favor of opening the impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. And this includes Representative Ken Buck, who, as you guys might have remembered, previously said that he was leaning against voting in favor of a formal impeachment inquiry because there was no evidence incriminating Joe Biden. Up until this point, House Republicans have not had enough votes to legitimize with a full chamber vote their ongoing inquiry into whether the president has committed an impeachable offense in connection to his family's foreign business dealings. The probe has struggled to uncover wrongdoing by the president, which is why it hasn't garnered the unified support of the full GOP conference. So the inquiry was launched in September by former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. There was a lot of pressure for him to do it. The far right wing of the Republican conference had been pushing for him to do it. And he's like, I really want to maintain power, so I'm gonna do what they want. Then he later was ousted from that position, and then a few months after that announced that he would no longer seek re-election and would be leaving his seat before the term is even over. Now that inquiry, again, was launched by Kevin McCarthy. The shift to formalize the inquiry is procedural. So last month, White House counsel Richard Stauber rejected GOP subpoenas and requests for transcribed interviews with staffers, Biden family members, including the president's son Hunter and their associates, arguing that the probe is illegitimate because the House hadn't voted to authorize it. And this ended up frustrating the moderate Republicans who said that they would back an inquiry to help House investigators enforce their subpoenas and obtain the information they need to complete their probe. But I also want to be clear about something. Biden has been cooperating with this investigation. They have handed over thousands upon thousands of documents, and the Republicans investigating this have found nothing. So it's just ridiculous to make it appear as though they haven't been getting, the information that they've wanted from Biden's White House. And even as Republicans issue new subpoenas and schedule more depositions, including with the president's brother and son, they still have not uncovered credible evidence that backs up their claims against Biden. There's only been one hearing related to the inquiry since its launch. The expert witnesses called by the Republicans acknowledged GOP investigators hadn't yet presented enough evidence to prove their accusations. And remember, there was also that closed door testimony that Devon Archer, one of Hunter Biden's former business associates, gave to the House Oversight Committee. James Comer was like on the news, like bragging about how they They managed to secure the testimony of Hunter Biden's former business partner, Devon Archer. And Devon Archer is going to testify things that will incriminate Joe Biden. We're going to finally find that Joe Biden did in fact enrich himself through foreign business dealings and did it on the down low. Guess what Devon Archer said? Exactly the opposite of what James Comer claimed he was going to say. In fact, James Comer did not even show up to that closed door session to hear what Devon Archer had to say. So again, I don't really have a problem with anyone in any position of power being investigated if there is probable cause, if there is real reason to believe that they engaged in illegality. And as you guys know, it's not like I have this loyalist mentality toward the Democrats or Joe Biden. I certainly don't. But I do have a problem when I take a step back and I look at the entirety of our government, the conditions that Americans are living in, the problems that we're facing and how they just keep getting worse year after year. And I can't help but get incredibly angry seeing members of Congress engage in politically motivated investigations that will lead to nowhere, that will waste a ton of resources, while neglecting the American people who they are supposed to be representing as public servants. That is my problem with this. But here's where we're at. We have an election season coming up. And again, if Trump might possibly be harmed by the very real indictments that he's facing due to very real evidence that's been presented, well, then Republicans are going to fight back with their own phony investigation into Joe Biden. And we're just gonna have to deal with it.
Thanks for watching. If you become a member, you get to watch all this ad-free, except for, of course, this ad. Still, hit the join button below.